Hmm. All right. How's everybody doing today? Hope you had a good weekend. One second here, we'll get this thing going. Oh man, lots of ups and downs and craziness going on here over the last 24 hours. All right. All right. Lots of ups and downs, lots of whipsaw happening. Bitcoin's somewhat sideways pattern for a while here. But we are back over 92, and it is possible that we can hold above this right here. As you can see, we had major resistance over here on Bitcoin back here in the beginning of January before our most recent pump up to the 94K. We had a downward trending resistance, which we broke out of and retested and retested. Boom, boom. We pumped up. This was just last night. Dropped back down, bounced, and then pumped back up. Sunday, some Sunday craziness going on here. And it looks very similar for XRP. But if we stay above this 91, 92, then it is possible that we have a little bit of a movement. And it looks like we did cut through some liquidity up here, but I think we could probably get up to 93K, which is another $1,000 up before coming down somewhere up in this range, which would be the next resistance level somewhere in here. We had resistance, resistance, support, 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 resistance, 93,000. XRP. Some whipsaw action. My conditional limit order that I had on the live call last time got triggered right here, which just added to my existing position. And then it pumped back up into profits. I'm up a little bit right now, not much. 37 XRP. I was a little bit negative here, maybe about $400 actually, but my liquidation has been way down here, so I wasn't worried about it. And I on the live call, if you guys remember, I did remove my stop loss and put a limit conditional order down here. And it did come right to it, boom, at 203. I mean, it went to 202.94, and I had it at 203, so it just barely hit it. And all it did was just add a few thousand more contracts to my 20,000 contracts that I had and lowered my entry just slightly. Now, what needs to happen is we need to maintain above this previous little support and resistance level, this whole zone here. It's not really just a line, guys. It's more of a whole area where we've been consolidating. It's a range. Be easier if I just Put a range on there. And we are now trying to get above it. But if I zoom out, you will see that we are not, we never went back down to the floor yet. I mean, close. Floor is a little further down. And if I zoom in, you'll see that little range I just put in was up here. It was the 205. Yeah, we did kind of wick into it a little bit, but so we're still holding above it. I mean, we wicked down to it here at, we pretty much wicked down. That was that big wick that some of you guys had a problem with the other day on January 9th. Stayed in the in this range up here, wicked down below again. Now we're back up, and we came all the way back up to 211 and then kind of pulled back a little bit. So what's going on here? Are we still in downward trending? Are we in sideways trending? Are we holding above the floor? To me, this reminds me of, if I go back a little further, back to the last time we were down here, before we pump all the way up to $3.67, before we hit this top ceiling range up here. We had a dip, a breakout, a bounce, and then a pump to the upside. That's technically what they call the 1, 2, 3 pattern. And it's possible that we are setting up for one of those. We broke out almost equally as high as we did here when we first broke out of this floor, right up to about this level. We didn't quite go this high, but what I'm going to do is I am going to put a line up there because that was resistance and support over here and resistance here. So that's probably the next level up that we need to hit. And it's right in the middle of the whole entire channel. And I know, guys, it seems like sometimes things are just taking too long. And, I thought XRP was supposed to pump up to $50, $20. That's not going to happen overnight. In order for us to get to $4, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, we got to get past $2.70. $2. We got to get past this level right here, which is the 370. I meant 370, not 270.
Nico, the diamond hands are turning into broken hearts.
Yeah, well, they got to stay diamond hands if they want to call themselves diamond hands. But I mean, to me, this is I mean, I know I've said this before, and it reminds me of Bitcoin to a degree that I don't know how many times we've said over the past year or two that we wished Bitcoin would drop down to 30 grand again so that we could buy more, so that we could get back in at a lower price. 30 grand. But imagine if we had the opportunity to buy it back at like $10 or $12 or $5 or $3. And so there's going to come a time in the future where what we're looking at right here is impossible. and it's never coming back to this price range. But I know it's hard to see that because you'd have to you have to believe and know that it's going to be there someday. But it's so early, but at the same time, so close to being too late for a lot of people. Because we're still down here under $2. We're at $2 right now, but to me, this is just a temporary thing here. If we go over here and look, but temporary, temporary, but still takes a long time for that to change. But we've done this a couple times where we've broken out and then held above the previous high, broke up, held above this high, broke up, and we're holding above this high right now. So if we just look at history, and this only goes back to, 2013, which is pretty much the beginning of XRP. When we look at it this way, to me, now, I mean, obviously that presumes that we're going to continue in this stair-stepping upward trending manner continuously. What else do we have to look at other than that? I mean, we've never done this and then gone back down to the bottom yet. So this could just be this little sideways action right here before we break to the next level, but I have a feeling it's going to. Now, could we go sideways all the way to this line first? That would bring us to like May, somewhere up in this area up here. If we stayed below this that whole time, it would be like April right here, May, June. If it went all the way to the apex or the tip of that, that would be like August. It would be the end of the year, basically. It would take all year to do that. But generally speaking, and this one did. I mean, this one went all the way to that line. This one went all the way to the line. But that's only because that's where I drew the line. I drew the line when this sideways action ended. I drew the line and then I touched this. Whoops. I touched this line to the next touch point there. Okay. And then that's when that popped up. And then I just continue it. Now that there's two touch points, I just continue it to there. And doesn't mean it has to go to that line. I mean, right here, it didn't go all the way to the line before it popped up again, but it came all the way back down. So as you can see, we've done that already. We've been in this channel. We came down to the bottom, went up to the top, came down to the bottom. Very similar. Went to the top, came down to the bottom, went to the top, came down to the bottom. But before it finally popped out, doesn't necessarily need to wait for that line, but sometimes these patterns continue to repeat. If I show you Bitcoin, it's very similar. Very similar. I'm on the monthly.
If it did take us to May to, as we go across, say it's bouncing between XRP at $2 and $2.10 or whatever, it just gives people more time to accumulate more XRP at the lower price. I mean, it's a good thing.
That's the way. Yeah.
Yeah, just patience.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it too. I mean, of course, I would love it to just shoot to $1,000 because even right now, at the amount that I have, that would mean a lot. But imagine if I was able to get twice as much between now and the time it shoots up. That would make a whole bit of huge difference. But Bitcoin's done the same thing, guys. It's just gone up. I mean, this is 2011 back here, right around when XRP started. We've been in upward trending support all the way until just now. Here's the only problem I see. If we zoom in, Bitcoin did break below. I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff just so it's not so crazy looking. Almost looking like a giant bear flag right now, but Bitcoin did break below this white line for the first time in a long time. I shouldn't say. It wicked below it here, wicked below it here, wicked here. It broke below and is looking very similar to right now, curving back up. If we have one of these right here, guys, that would bring us up to about 108, 109. And then if we had one of these, bring us up to like 120. And if we had one of these, it would bring us right back up to 126. And then, of course, that would be a blow up to basically a parabolic move to the upside after that. But this, from here down to dipping below this line, is the bear market. This, dipping all the way down to this line, was the bear market bottom here at 15.5. This is very strange because we didn't have this giant push to the upside. We had a push to the upside here, but that was just breaking the previous all-time high, and we had a little bit of a push here and a little bit more here. So we incrementally made higher highs at 108, 109, 112, 123, 124, 126. Tiny little highs. And then we dropped back down. But we're hugging this line right here. We didn't like literally fall through it. We're kind of hugging it, and it could look very much like this. In fact, I could, if I put it right under and made it look like it was just resting on it, that would still almost look in line with everything. I could probably even justify that a little bit. Not touching this one here, though. But these are all perfect. So it's possible. We're just resting on that line. And what did I say about bear flags? Bear flags tend to break to the downside unless they're up against support. Bear flag forming, broke to the upside, bounced. This could have been maybe considered one, but it broke to the upside because this is still the support. By the way, support, guys, and resistance is not right on the line, not always exact. So let's say that the support is at $315 here, and something comes to here and bounces, that's still the support. Something comes up here to the resistance and doesn't quite hit it, that could still, because in other words, there could be lots of support and resistance previously right on that line. But if something bounces right close to it or comes close to it and retracts from it, that's still the support and resistance level. And so right here, that is the support level. Right now, this is a bear flag on support. Even if it was right under it, it'd still be kind of support because it hasn't broken really, retested under that and then dropped. So this could be a big bear flag, but the problem with it is it's right up against support, and bear flags tend to break to the downside except for when they're up against support. So we could see a nice pump back to the upside here, and that will be the tide that possibly, if we come up right up to that 108, 109, maybe even get back up to the all-time high or way beyond it, that would be nice. That would bring us right up here to the 180 to 200 range if that's, but the only reason I'm a little indifferent about that happening is because that would just go against all of the bull and bear market cycles up to this point. Now, I'm not saying that can't happen. We've discussed this. It can happen. The trend is your friend until the end, but that just means that there can be an end of the trend. So if the trend is bull market, bear market for 1 year, 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 years up, 1 year down. Okay, well, if that's the case, we've had 1, 2, 3 previous bull markets, each taking 3 years to get to the top and 1 year to get to the bottom. And this one has been no different as far as the bull market. It took 3 years to get to this, and it ended December 31st, 2025. So right here technically would be the top if everything is the same. And we've been dropping ever since, all the way down to the 80K level. a 40% drop so far. That would be equivalent to dropping from here to about here. That would be equivalent to dropping from here to about here, right before it broke out of that. Right before it broke out. So I'm not trying to scare anybody to saying that it's about to do that, but we're only at like 33%. But because in order for that to not happen, in order for this to be different than all these other times, then the bull and bear market cycle needs to be over. And there is something different about this one. The length of time that it took to get up to this high of 126 was the same, about 3 years, but we've had bearish divergence from 40, I think from right about here at 40, I don't know, can't remember, 68K or 73K, higher highs and lower highs here. So we've had the bearish divergence. And then on top of that, the highs were very much smaller each time, getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, instead of breaking a huge amount up from the previous high. Huge amount up from the previous high. Huge amount up from the previous high. That hasn't happened. And it took a long time, even when we broke from previous high, it took a long time just to get up to this level. And there is something else that I normally show you guys.
Could you show us the resistance line on the tops of all the bear market, of all the bullish, all of the bear market, I mean bull markets, to see where it to see where it should actually be if it was following the trend?
Yeah. This is a different line. I'll show you that in a second. This is a different line right here. I'm trying to remember what this one insinuates. I had that up here. It depends on where you put it, obviously, but if I were to put it at the top of every bull market, we can only go back so far, but it would look more like a perfect upward trending, where a couple instances we broke above it and held a support, broke below, resistance, broke through, support, break through, resistance, support on the floor. That would bring us, I mean, if it were to break and come all the way up, now that would bring us up to the 500, and right around here would bring us up into the 550,000 range on Bitcoin. And that ironically does fit on the 2.3 on the Fibonacci as where it would go if it hit the top of phase 5. Let me show you. I'm trying to find a another graphic that I had, because there is a level there that we've always hit. We've always, well, not always. Let me say that. Let me go back here. This is 2013 bull market here, and this yellow line up here is the 2.36 on the fib. And this is, if you look at the total here, it's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. We hit the top of phase 5 in 2013. In 2017, we hit the top of phase 5, which is the 2.36. And then in 2021, we did not, this is the only bull market we did not hit the 2.36 on the fib, but we did hit the 1.6. And we always hit the 1.6. And it could be a couple of reasons. It could be because of the COVID. It could be because of the FTX collapse. A lot of things were happening back here. And we hit it and we came back down and we came back up and double topped here at 68K. And that was the beginning of the bear market. But phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, this red line is the one on the fib, and that was at 73K. That was right when we broke the previous all-time high of 68. And we went through that. So we are in phase 4. And if we come up to the top of phase 4, that would be the 1.6 on the Fibonacci, and that would be $178,000 for Bitcoin. And so far, we have always hit the 1.6, but we also did it before December 31st of that bull market cycle, which means we did not this time. Now we did come up higher than where this graph is showing. We were up here somewhere at the 126 range. We didn't have far to go, but we also pulled all the way back to like 80K since then. Now, if we would break through this 1.6 and go all the way up to the 2.3, that would be exactly 555,000 for Bitcoin. And then that would be in line with 66% of the bull markets, because we had it this time it worked, this time it did it, this time it did not. 100% of the time we hit the 1.6. 66% of the time we hit the 2.36. So this last one, we did not hit the 2.36. And this one currently, we did not even hit the 1.6. So what's happening here? Is it the law of diminishing returns? Are we just having lower highs now each time? Or is the bull market, bear market cycles over? Something else is happening. We're gearing up for some big change. Are we going to just shoot up and, it's going to be the end of bull market, bear markets, and we're just going to never come back down again? Or are we going to have a typical bear market cycle where this was the top and we did not make the 1.6, and it's just the law of attrition. It's a law of, not attrition, but diminishing returns. And we just get having lower highs and lower highs and lower highs because the curve, the overall Bitcoin curve, is diminishing.
I think that all the news that's going on, all the different things, worldly stuff that's going on is just affecting everything.
It is. Yeah, for sure. But this is the Bitcoin rainbow chart. And as you can see, each one of these vertical lines here is the halving every 4 years. And if we go all the way back here before 2013, we had like 1,000x on Bitcoin. It went from $5 up to like $1,237 in one bull market cycle. Actually, less than that. Yeah, it was like $4 and something like that. But as soon as it goes to the halving, boom, we had a bull market top, we had a double top, and then we went to a bear market. 1 year down, back down to the purple zone, went sideways, went through the halving. A few months later, boom, cycle back up to the top, 19,000. But from this low here of $200 to 19,000, the ROI was a lot less than from down here to here. And then this bull market, the last one, we go through the halving. We're at $9,000 when we go through the halving, and we pump up to 60,000. That's only a 6x in comparison to 100x, in comparison to 1,000x. So as you can see, the return or the multiplier each time, and it's evident by the actual curve of the rainbow, is it's not going straight up, it's curving and getting lower. So here we are. Look at this. This looks like we didn't even get out of the blue zone. But if you look at the black line, when I put my mouse here, look at the black line going to the left. We did go much higher than the previous all-time high. Previous all-time high is right here at 68. We went up to 126, right about here. But we didn't even get out of the green yet. So back here, we were up in the red. We come down to the purple. We went up to the red, up past the red, down to the purple. Up to the red and the orange, down to the purple. Up to just the yellow and the orange. We didn't hit the red here. And then we come back down to the purple, even lower this time in the purple. And then this time we're up into the green zone. We never even got into the light green, let alone the yellow. The yellow would be 200-some thousand, 300,000, depending on, how long it takes to get up here. So I think it's going to happen, but this is also this is what makes this time different, guys. This is also, and I know I cover these things periodically, and it sounds maybe repetitive a little bit to some of you, but this is how you really sinks in. But look right here in this bull market right here, from the 15.5 to the current price, this halving that we went through in April of 2024 was the first time that we actually went higher than the previous all-time high before the halving happened. Normally, we're way down here, nowhere near the all-time high when we go through the halving. way down here, nowhere near the previous all. I mean, it looks like it's low, but it's really like right here. The price is 734. Look at the black line going to the left. It was close. But always lower. And we don't beat the previous all-time high until months after the halving. Well, here we were higher than the previous all-time high before the halving, and we went lower after that. Right here is when, by the way, right here is when the 13 ETFs got approved. That's probably why we pumped up and went higher than the previous all-time high. Then we had 260 days or so of just consolidation, 7 months of going down, 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 till we finally broke out and made a new all-time high up here at 107, 108, then 109, and then we come all the way down to 80, come all the way back up. Actually, we went down to 74.5 right here, come all the way back up, 112, 123, 124, 126. And so it looks like hardly nothing happening here. But I mean, technically it is still quite a bit higher than the previous all-time high by like a double. So
What is the halving?
the halving is every 4 years, the rewards that miners get for mining Bitcoin get cut in half. So the supply of rewards for Bitcoin mining gets cut in half every 4 years. And right now, I think 19.5 million Bitcoin have been mined out of 21 million that will ever exist. It's going to be until the year 2034 when 99% of all Bitcoin will have been mined. So another 10 years or so. And then after that, it will take 100 more years to mine the final 1%. I know it's crazy, the calculations, but the people that will make the money on the mining are the big operations at that point. Before, regular people could mine back here, and they were getting big rewards for mining. Like you used to get whole Bitcoins for mining. But that's been cut many times since then. And so mining is not really practical for the average person. You don't have enough. I mean, there are little devices you can buy to put on your desk, little nano miners that will, mine micro, basically Satoshis of Bitcoin, which are 1/100th of a dollar and 1/100th of a penny. You're not really going to accumulate much. You might make $1 or $2 per month worth of Bitcoin. But if you have a huge operation, warehouses full of computers, millions of dollars worth of infrastructure, and you work some deal out with the government or the state in the area that you're in or the county to lower your electric consumption because of all the power requirements, the energy requirements, then it could be profitable. But so it's too late, probably too late for us to mine Bitcoin, very similar to us mining or minting Optio tokens. Like you can buy nodes and you can mint other tokens that are fractions of a penny, and that can accumulate to a lot. But trying to mine Bitcoin now at near $100,000 is futile unless you have hundreds of millions already in computers and the access to do it. So, but
Mika, what's interesting is that with that is, everybody was complaining about Bitcoin and mining and sucking up all this energy and electric all over the country. But now with all this AI and data centers, nobody's talking about this at all. It's a different narrative now that it's like AI than it was for like crypto. If you notice, it's pretty comical. Now that if you notice, Bitcoin's using a lot of all the alternative energy sources, and it's come down quite substantially as opposed to just using electric. But
yeah, they even open up giant warehouses in very cold climate areas like Greenland and Iceland, and where it keeps the computers cool and they don't overheat.
A lot of Bitcoin data centers have converted to AI data centers because they can make more money with their energy supplying the AI data centers than the Bitcoin mining servers. Because now that the mining rewards are being reduced, they can make more money off of AI. So actually, there's opportunity in Bitcoin mining now too.
Hey, Nico, Patrick has had his hand up for a few minutes.
Oh, Patrick, go ahead, bud. Jump on out.
Thanks. I had a question about the little pump last night. Can you go back to that chart and zoom in on that? I was watching the move up, and when it ran out of steam, I went short and had a nice little gain going. And then it was about time to go to bed, so I tightened my stop up and found out that shortly afterwards it did a retest and took out my stop.
Which one are we talking about?
The one that happened about 11 o'clock.
I know,
Eastern.
but what coin, what crypto?
Oh, sorry, Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're scalping, that would have been a nice scalp. Good job on that one.
Yeah, it was a good little scalp. After the retest, though, it dropped significantly, much more. So my question was, do you have any strategies for deciding when to tighten up the stop losses? Because if you leave it, looser, you have a chance to gain even more if there's a retest and it drops even further, like it did last night. But if you tighten it up, you're gonna take
No,
your small
if you're
profits.
scalping like this and you know where the resistance level is, that it bounces here and you think it might come up to this level up here, then you want to front run. Like, so let's just say this is the resistance right here. And you think it might, and this is the support. You short it here when it breaks this resistance, the support, and you take profit down here. Well, you want to front run it. So let's say you think it's going to touch this line here at 90K. You want to put your take profit target here. You could put a conditional limit order here to go long again. So it takes you out, closes out your short, and enters you long. It bounces and climbs up. You would put a take profit target here, not up here, but here, because you don't want to have your take profit target up at this line and it not hit it like this one. Right. So you want to always front run and make sure that your stop losses and your take profit targets are sooner than you think it's going to go. Like if you think it's going to go to 92K, you put your take profit target here at 91, let's just say.
Right. So if you see from where it first reversed last night, it went down 2 bars or 2 or 3 bars, and then it came back up again. And right at that time, that's where I tightened up my stop loss, and my stop loss was hit as it did the retest. If I had left my stop loss up at break even, I probably would have been able to wake up in the morning and have that full drop, having achieved that full drop.
This last one?
No, sorry, the one that
this one?
Yeah, yeah. So my question is, what kind of good strategies are there for deciding when to tighten up a stop loss versus
the only reason you're saying that is because you have the benefit of hindsight. So a crystal ball would be great. If you manage that. So because on this climb right here, once we hit this resistance right here, boom, and then broke through it and held the support right here, why would you even think that it was going to fall back down? So in hindsight, it's easy to look back and say it came back down, fell through, and then dropped again. But right here, it's upward trending. That's why I wasn't even awake during this, but it's upward trending. It's making higher highs. It's holding support, and it bounced on this resistance and started climbing. What you would want to wait for is for it to get higher than this level and hold that as support. So this line right here, bouncing, coming up, getting above that, holding as support, and continuing up. That would be a continuation and continuing to hold support along the way. But it didn't do that, right? So if you're trading and you're watching on the lower time frame, like the 10-minute, you would have an upward trending support line, and then as soon as it breaks it and retest, that might be an opportunity to short as it's going down. But you also want to make sure that it doesn't bounce here and just double bottom and then come back up, because that's what it did down here. It hit here, kind of triple bottomed a little bit and then bounced. But that's the dangers of scalping on the lower time frames, guys, is that you got to be watching. And
I went to bed. That's why I tightened my stop loss, and I was like, okay, I'm okay if it hits it. I'd rather go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm going to bed, I'm not scalping. I'm getting out of everything. Or like for instance, I didn't get out of this because I'm long on XRP in case it does what I wanted to do. And I didn't think that it would drop down below, like say $2 at the lowest. My stop loss, I mean, my liquidation is far away down in the 170, 160 range. So I wasn't overly concerned with that. Plus, that is a risk because it could have. I mean, is it possible for it to wick all the way down to 160 overnight? Yeah, it did it before. Let's go. Let's just look. So Bitcoin can do the same. But if we go back, this is XRP whipping up and down, still just like Bitcoin, creating a big M pattern right now, possibly. But very similar movement. But it's sideways. To me, it's just sideways trending, holding support on the floor and having a problem getting above this level right here at 210, 211, maybe a little higher if I put this up. But yeah, so it's dangerous scalping. It's dangerous scalping this whipsaw action in a what's called a range. A range is when it's just ranging sideways in a very small channel. So what we really should do, what I think everyone should do, in my opinion, is wait for a breakout. And a breakout is the range. So if the range, and we did have it, I mean, technically, let's just zoom out a little bit. We did have a little bit of a breakout of a downward trend here. We were up here and we were trending down. And look at this. Boom. Resistance, hit the floor, broke out support, actually made a higher high, higher than this, did not get higher than this one over here, bounced on the floor, continued to range sideways, dropped all the way to retest this downward trend line right on the nose, and then now just continues in a sideways range, which is kind of strange. Normally that would be the what would happen before a breakout. And so it's kind of unpredictable right now what's going on. So it's that's why sometimes it's better to stay out and wait for the breakout. So what would a breakout here now would be if we really create this a much bigger, let's just go to the top. So we have support. Let me just pull this down a little bit. We have resistance, support, resistance, breakout, support, resistance, support, breakout to the downside, resistance, breakout. So it's kind of like just hugging this line. Now it got back above it. It's having a hard time. It's in this range. To me, this is kind of dangerous territory because it could go up or down. And if it goes down, how far down could it go? I mean, my liquidation's at $1.90 right now. And that only reason that went up, it was down below here. Only reason that went up is because I had a limit conditional order here and I added more contracts, which brought my liquidation up a little bit, which is a little risky. But I also figured if it wicked down this low, which would be equal to this wick right here, which would be a double bottom, this one, boom. If it wicked down that low again, that would probably be the double bottom and would bounce out. And it looked like it was doing that. Look at that. Big climb out. I thought, all right, when I saw this morning, I was like, great, it's climbing out after hitting my conditional order. And then what is it doing? Coming right back down again. So this is crazy whipsaw action, possibly an M pattern forming. And what do M patterns normally do? They normally break to the downside unless they're up against resistance, which is this whole zone here, which has been the floor for a while. And the floor does go a little bit lower. Actually, this whole thing is the floor. So this may not be resistance. If this M was above this line, I would say maybe it is, but it's kind of in it. So I don't know. If we do break to the downside here, how far can we go? It's not that big of an M. I am on the lower time frame. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe 190. And if that happens, where would that bring us? Let's just draw a line there. Look, well, interesting. That was support here, and it was resistance back here. And support here, and support. So we are in kind of this weird zone area right now. And if you remember, if I go back to over here and show you the big picture again on XRP, sometimes, even though we're waiting for this breakout to the upside, there are still lots of ups and downs along the way. So we could experience that over here. And even when even if it dipped down to that $1.80 I was just talking about, that's only right here. It's still not way down here below this. That would be $1.50 if it came all the way down to that line. But certainly could come to this one. Why this one? Well, this is like, I mean, we're basically in this whole same little channel right here. But let me bring it right to there. The reason why there is because here, if we zoom out and look, we have resistance and we held support above it on one candle. This one wicked down to there, and then the next candle dropped again. But this one had support here. So so to me, this, even though it wicked all the way up to here, it did not hold above this level. Whereas now we have held above that level. If I bring this over, we actually went above that level and held as support for the first time. And we're bouncing on it right now. And we're above it right now. But is it possible to wick down below? Yeah, I mean, look at this. Wick there, wicked here. It's wicked all the way to the bottom of it here. So to me, this is just a whole range sideways. If you want to look at it, I'm on the weekly time frame right now, so it's a much bigger picture. But this is important because on the weekly, we broke the downward trending resistance line to the upside, and we are above it right now. So to me, we are breaking out. To me, this is like this. But just breaking out doesn't mean we can't go up and then down, up and down, because this candle right here was green, and then this one right here turned red for a minute before it popped up. We could be popping up any moment. And now this could pop up any moment, but it could also go like this for a while. For all I know, it could go all the way to July like this. I mean, look at this one. This could be like this. Instead of this really long, it could be like this. Let's just say that this didn't happen yet. And we broke out, boom, and then we come back down before we finally climb up. So that would be like this. And then maybe it goes up and comes down and bounces for a while before it goes up. And then I would have to move this line over to that. So it's too soon to tell. This could come up and come back down and then finally break out over here. To me, it's too soon to tell. But just because it did it, and this is, I know it's, sometimes when we look at these patterns, we think, oh, they're going to repeat. But just because it did it before doesn't mean it's going to do it again. But when I go back and look at the history, it has been doing it, stair-stepping its way up. And there's only better news now for XRP than there was back here. Better news, like more confidence in XRP, more surety around its utility. I mean, multi-billions of dollars worth of infrastructure built just in this last very short period of time. But the liquidity and the supply of XRP is diminishing rapidly on the OTC, over the counter, and even in the retail markets on major exchanges. So to me, that's a supply and demand issue, but you don't really see the demand shock happen until the supply really gets down to nothing. When the supply gets down to nothing, that's when the price shoots up. And until then, you don't even know that there's a supply issue. Same with oil, same with groceries, same with toilet paper, same with all the crap that when you run to the store and you buy toilet paper because they say a hurricane's coming in Florida. I don't know if you guys live in this area ever, but when there's a hurricane coming, everybody goes to the grocery store and they don't just buy a 12-roll pack of toilet paper. They try to take all of it off the shelves. And then you go thinking, oh, you got plenty of time. The hurricane's 7 days away, and the shelves are empty because other people didn't want to have that problem later, so they stocked up. And so you don't realize that there's a supply issue until the demand reaches a feverish pitch. So once the demand eats away all the XRP that's on the OTC, and then they have to start buying on the retail market, you're going to see this kind of thing happen. Huge demand come in. Huge demand come in from the retail market. But it's going to be whales, and it's going to be institutions buying on the retail market. In the meantime, it seems like, oh, they've just been promising this forever. XRP's never going anywhere. It's always low. It's never, oh no, it's not. No, it's not. Let's just go back a couple of years right here when it was 0.005 cents. And from here, July of 2013 to 2017, for 4 years, everybody said that before it finally popped out. And then from here, when it was 39 cents, and then it went all the way down to 12 cents again. From 12 cents went all the way up to $3. All this time from here, May 17th to here, when it broke out in 2024, 7 years of people saying it's never doing anything, they're lying to us, and then boom, shoots out again, back up to 350, 360, and now it's holding above this level. So, I mean, you have the benefit of seeing this chart where most people don't. They don't see this constant leveling up action here. And it's going to do it again, guys. It's going to break out of this. And I don't know when, and I don't know what it's going to, it could go all the way to the end before that happens. But when it does, it's going to be probably up here in the $29, $30 range. And it's going to do it relatively quickly, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Do with it what you will. But I know that when we're down here in this $2 range, I can see history repeating, guys, and this is the only token that I feel that it's really can. It's the only one that I think you can front run the governments and the institutions on that really is going to have a huge, again, price increase. Don't get me wrong, Optio and other nodes and other tokens that are just being developed for certain things are going to see huge ROI opportunities from 0.00, from fractions of a penny up into the dollars. That's true. And there are some right now that could do that, right? But they don't have, a billion token circulation. So it takes longer for XRP to hit these higher numbers because of the actual supply out there. But that supply can be used up quickly once the institutions get involved. And it's the only one I see right now where the institutions are not only involved or are getting involved, but they're already involved and they're already lining up and they're throttling and probably intentionally manipulating the price and keeping it down until they get their ducks in order, until all the laws change so they can just switch everything over. That's just my opinion. That's what I think is happening behind the scenes. And it's not just me thinking that, it's not people like Jake Flavor who says it. It's the founders of the actual banks and the CEOs of the biggest organizations and countries and governments and the founder of Ripple and all of the developers of Ripple and all of these people combined saying that it's happening and that they have these contracts and these agreements and these things are being worked out. So to me, it's an inevitability. As far as when, that's a different story. I can't say. I don't know. But I'd rather be early to the party than late. That's for sure. To this party anyway. Normally I like to come to parties late and leave early. But in this party, I want to be early.
Nico, when you say history repeats itself, are you talking about 2017 where the big jump is, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 yellow lines? Is that where you feel like we're at right now?
Like right here?
No, down at that big jump right here. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm also talking about the opportunity that most people missed here with Bitcoin. Let's just go back to right here. This is Bitcoin at $1.92 right here. And
okay, can you pause for 1 second? So it went all the way up, and I don't know where your white thing is, your white line, what number that is, and then it went all the way back down. So do you think that XRP will go up to 20 and then back to 10 or back to lower than 10? Like, is it going to have a jump up and then?
Well, like right here Bitcoin was $2 and it went up to $7 and came back down to 380. Then it went up to $15 came back down to $8, and then went all the way up to $273 and only came down to 66. So yeah, there's always going to be ups and downs along the way, but I don't know if Bitcoin, I don't know if XRP is going to do that. XRP needs to hold certain prices in order for it to be used for the purpose that it's supposed to be used for. It cannot no longer be a speculative asset where, like Bitcoin, where it's being bought and held and sold for the sole purpose of speculation. XRP is a little different because it's going to have to maintain a certain value in order to handle the quantity of transactions. That's why I think XRP is a little different than Bitcoin. But what I'm showing here is the fact that Bitcoin went from $1.90 to $2.60 in less than a year, in a very short period of time. These candlesticks are weeks. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks. What are that? 3 months, it went from $10 up to $260. Okay, so could we see, and by the way, just a couple months before that, it was $2. So, and that's Bitcoin, and Bitcoin serves no purpose in comparison to what XRP serves. I mean, Bitcoin is a store of wealth. I like Bitcoin. I'm accumulating Bitcoin, but Bitcoin doesn't do anything like what XRP is set up to do. So, so I think that we could see, I think that my point is this is the opportunity you missed when Bitcoin was $1.90. No one was stocking up on Bitcoin that I know of at $1.90. I mean, very few people did. Obviously, there's people that bought 1,000 Bitcoin back then. Imagine if you just bought 1,000 Bitcoin back then. Now, you probably would have sold it when it hit $260 because that would have turned your what, 1,000, that would have turned your $2,000 into $260,000, just like that, right? But no one, I don't think even when it was $200, anybody would have ever thought that would make to 100,000, right? So, but there were wallets that held that whole time. Those people that bought 1,000 Bitcoin back here that held all the way to 100,000, right? And those people turned $1,000 or $2,000. If you bought 1,000 Bitcoin at $2, and it went up to 100,000, that's $100 million that you would have held on to. Now, I'm not saying that XRP is going to make it to 100,000, but there's no reason why it can't. That's a market cap situation, which can happen if XRP literally is the chosen one that is underlying all of the global transactions. It would just need, I think, 500 trillion. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it was like a 500 trillion, or not a 500 trillion, like $100 trillion market cap. Well, what is all the money in the world? It's like 500 trillion, something like that. It was, okay. But there's like $4 quadrillion worth of transactions happening every day. So if it just takes a 5% or 10% or 15% of that, as far as utility is concerned, then you're looking at, $1,000 to $2,000 XRP, maybe even a $3,000 or $4,000 XRP. So that's like Bitcoin way down here when Bitcoin was at $1,000 right here. It did pull back from $1,200 all the way back down to $176. That would have been scary, right? If XRP goes to $1,000 and comes all the way back down. But I don't think that's going to happen with XRP, to be honest with you. This bull and bear market cycle that we saw in Bitcoin, I think going forward, it's going to change not only for XRP, but for Bitcoin and everything. I don't think we're going to have these huge swings so much because the upswings have gotten less and less and less and less. So I think the downswings are going to get less too. Now, if we do break this upward trending support that's gone all the way back to 2011, and we break this line here, which is the 70K zone, if we do break that on Bitcoin, then I would say, me personally, I would say that we would be dropping at that point. We would probably go down to the 30 or 40,000 range on Bitcoin. And that could bring everything down with it, except for something that gets chosen to be used for some other reason. And that's when you're going to see decoupling. Bitcoin could go into a bear market, and like we've seen back here and here and here, we have had an altcoin season where Bitcoin's going down and certain altcoins are still going up. There's correlation up to a certain point, and then decoupling happens. But XRP is the only one I know of. It's the only one I know of that will eventually take a mind of its own and no longer correlate with Bitcoin. Right now, it's kind of correlating, just like everything else. Not everything, but most things are correlating with Bitcoin. So it is the tide that rises all ships, so to speak. And so when Bitcoin drops, XRP drops. Everything kind of drops with it. But have you noticed that when Bitcoin dropped recently, XRP drops to a smaller degree percentage-wise, and when Bitcoin pumps up, what seems like a little bit, XRP pumps up higher percentage-wise. So it is correlating, but it's also correlating a different percentage. So it's kind of hard to say, but again, guys, a lot of these things are crystal ball. Do I actually know what's going to happen? No. But when I take all of the support and resistance levels, when I take all of the liquidity, when I understand what's happening in the grand scheme of things, I use my better judgment and my intuition is telling me that I'd rather be safe than sorry. And if XRP ends up going down to zero and they decide it's not going to be used for anything, and we've been scammed, and this whole thing is just, a big nothing burger, and the governments end up getting taken over by the Illuminati, and they switch everything over to a CBDC, one world government, and they want to create their own stable coin, and it's not going to be XRP. Well, I will be very disappointed, but at the same time, that's what would have to happen for XRP to not do what I think it's going to do. And
Now, let me ask you this: do you think any of these cryptos would ever pay a dividends? Like monthly?
It's not the crypto that would do it. It's maybe somebody, maybe some service or some hedge fund or some liquidity pool or some platform like Coinbase who needs the liquidity, who needs XRP, that's willing to pay you a dividend to store your XRP there. So the crypto itself is not going to pay a dividend. It's going to be someone who needs the crypto to supply, to create, to give supply to a need, who's willing to pay you a dividend for that. So when you have something, just like right now, guys, if you have a lot of cash, right? If you have a lot of cash sitting in the bank, let's say you're retired or you sold your company and you're sitting on a lot of cash. The money doesn't just give you a dividend for no reason. It does. If you put a stack of $1 million in cash on your office table, it's not just going to multiply by itself. So the money doesn't do anything. But if you loan it to someone and you come up with an agreement with them that they're going to pay you a dividend or an APR of, let's say, 5% or 8% or 10% per year, then your safeguard is that if they don't pay you, you get to repossess or foreclose on whatever it is that they are using the money for. In other words, you're protected. Either way, you get your money back or they're paying you a dividend. Something like that. That's going to be available in crypto. It's going to be where your money is protected. The banks are going to offer you, let's say, a 5% or 6% or 7% return for keeping your XRP or your Bitcoin in their bank account. And they're going to use it to provide liquidity. Your XRP, let's just use XRP as an example. Your XRP would be safe in your account. Only you can pull it out of the liquidity pool. In other words, only you can take it out of staking. No one else can steal it from you or take it from you. But while it's in there, you're getting paid 5% per year. And let's just say you got $100 million worth because you bought 50,000 XRP before it shot up to $1,000, let's just say. Let's say you got $50 million worth. Now you're getting 5% per year, hypothetical. This is all hypothetical, but let's just say. So you got $100 million worth of XRP times 5% per year. That's $5 million a year divided by 12. You're getting $400,000 a month in interest. But you can take your $100 million worth of XRP anytime you want, or you can sell any portion of that anytime you want. Now, if you do that, you're going to take away from the amount that's paying you a dividend, so your dividend will go down. Or you can just cash out and sell it all, pay a capital gains tax if there is such a thing still at that point, and walk with just cash. But then what's the problem with cash is that it doesn't earn you any money unless you invested it in something. So you're just going to spend it over time, and the purchasing power of it continues to go down in value over time, especially if they keep printing more of it. And so, but yeah, I think that you will be able to get a dividend, not only on XRP, but on probably other things. I mean, Ethereum right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum right now, you can borrow against on Coinbase and on other platforms. And you can also put it into a staking on Coinbase. You can stake your Ethereum, even your USDT, you can stake for a small dividend. So right now it's already a thing on many platforms. XRP is just probably going to be the next one. Once the supply and demand for it gets to a certain level, then yeah, you're going to be in demand if you have XRP.
So it would lead to the next question, which is my main question. So do you think these cryptos would ever split like a stock would, like a stock does?
It could, I guess. I don't know if they would do that with XRP. Because it's not being traded. It's not going to be traded like a stock. It's not right now. You might look at it as a commodity like Bitcoin. It's a speculative commodity where people are trading it up and down, buying it, selling it, and the value goes up when more people buy, and people make a profit when they sell, and it goes down, and that kind of thing. I don't think XRP will continue like that. I think
In this
XRP
industry, it's a fork, is what he's referring. It would be a fork.
Yeah.
That would be the only way it would split.
Yeah. I just don't think they're going to do that with XRP, because I think if XRP does get used for what it's intended for, then it might be taken off the exchanges. So it won't be tradable anymore to the masses. It won't be available anymore to the masses. Those who have it, have it. Those who don't will never be able to have it. And
XRP is a split or a fork of Bitcoin. Every other crypto out there is a fork of Bitcoin, and then they changed the code and made it their own crypto. But every other crypto out there is a fork of Bitcoin.
yeah, possibly even the same developers on XRP from Bitcoin. The same group of people that probably worked. In fact, I think that has already been shown. I'm not saying the creator. Satoshi Nakamoto might not be a person. It could just be, if the rumors are true, it just could be an address. It could be the streets that on the house where the developers created it just so happened to be on the corner of Satoshi and Nakamoto Avenue. I don't know. I wasn't there. But if you believe other people that say that the CIA created it and the government created it, and there are some documents out there that maybe show that they had this technology to do that.
That's already been debunked. So there's it's technical. I'll get into it if you don't care, but there's a back door, or there was at the time, the CIA had a back door on everything, any type of code or anything like that. Like everything had a back door. And then whoever created Bitcoin, if they were part of the CIA, then they would have been using this back door, because that's how the CIA got into everything. And whoever created it did not use that backdoor, and it's the only SHA-256 program that did not use it and invented its own. So if it was a CIA project, why didn't they use their own backdoor?
Sure. That's a good point. And that also brings you to the fact that that's probably why Bitcoin would never be trusted by a government to be the currency of the world, because they don't know if that's true. Then maybe they don't know who created it, and that whoever did create it could have a backdoor, and they can't take that risk. So therefore, they would have to create their own, break off in a fork, create in an alliance with a bunch of other smart people, maybe something like Ripple, that is much faster and then can be controlled by the government later on, because it's an actual company that can be the reins can be handed over or sold or controlled by the government to a degree. In other words, they could take control of it and have a buyback where no matter, let's say XRP gets to, $1,000 or $5,000 per XRP someday. where they actually force a buyback, which means that they're going to use it as the reserve or the settlement crypto or the settlement coin of the world, and they need to control all of it. So if you have any of it, you need to bring it in and turn it in, or you need to, and get it, you're going to get exchanged for this much currency in exchange for it. Is that possible? Yeah, that could happen. What's the buyback going to be? Is it going to be small chump change, or is it going to be a huge amount? Probably a huge amount, because not that many people will have it. To be honest with you guys, I know that there might be 1 million wallets, but out of those 1 million wallets, probably half of them or all of them are owned by half of the people. So therefore, you got 500,000 maybe people that have multiple wallets each, and out of all of those wallets, there's only maybe a few 100 million or maybe 1 billion XRP in private hands that they would have to buy. And I'm not sure that that would equal too much money for them in the grand scheme of things. They probably know that they had to do it this way. It had to be available in the open market. They had to have proof of concept. They had to go through this whole 10-year cycle of allowing it to be bought and traded and owned and suppressed and keep the price. I'm just speculating right now. I'm not telling you what happened. I don't know. But before it goes mainstream, before it gets turned into something bigger than what it is, they have to keep the price down. And then if they do happen to flip the switch and it does happen to shoot up, they're probably gonna rein it in very quickly, meaning the liquidity or the availability of it on the open market will probably go away. And so when it pumps up to $100 or $200, there's gonna be a lot of people that wish they bought XRP and then will try to buy it. And when they go on Coinbase will be out. Or they won't Binance already out. The liquidity is already gone. That could happen. Not saying it's gonna, but it could.
Nico, something that happened, I mean, what could happen too is these big institutions. Like, I remember quite a few years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, Carl Icahn, Ford went down to like 2.5. So I bought some in my IRA. 2 days later, Carl Icahn gave a tender offer for $5 for anybody that wanted to sell their Ford. So you could literally double your money. And so these institutions can come in and say, hey, XRP is at 100, we'll give you 120. And all these retail buyers will just come in and, hey, yeah, 100, take the money and run, or even 150, and start accumulating it, to kind of,
Yeah.
again, it's Chase or something like that. So there's other ways too, beside them just having like a call, to get rid of it.
Now, here's the only way that you cannot be forced to do that is that if you have it in a cold wallet. If you have it in a cold storage wallet, they can offer the buyback to you, but it would still require you to participate. Whereas if it's on a centralized exchange like Coinbase and they do that, they could literally freeze it or take it and then just exchange it for USDT without your permission. And then you're just paid out. That's it. If the law provides for them to do that. Or if Coinbase needs the liquidity for whatever reason, they technically could take it. I don't know about legally, I don't know about ethically or morally, but technically they could, because they control your wallet. Whereas if in a cold storage wallet, let's just say, you remember that movie Waterworld, guys, with Kevin Costner?
Yes, I do.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, if it comes down to it, and something you have is in such demand and no exchange has it anymore, but you have 50,000 of them on your cold storage wallet, you become very valuable. And you can actually name your price. I know that there are people right now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I know because I'm in certain circles of people that do this. I don't do it, but I've seen people do this. I have a good friend who does it with watches. He is a watch broker, a dealer. He deals in high-end luxury watches, very expensive. PF Journes. He's like been down to their Miami office and been to their Switzerland office. PF Journes, they're 150,000 on the low end, $1 million on the high end for these watches. Very rare. I mean, you might not have even heard of them. I mean, you've heard of Patek Philippe's and Rolexes and all that stuff, but PF Journes are even more valuable. And you got to get on a waiting list. And you can't even buy one unless you buy 2 other smaller ones first. They won't even let you buy the one you want. Even if you're a billionaire, they won't let you buy it, the magic, high demand one, unless you buy 2 other models first. Same with Ferrari. If you want to order a brand new Ferrari from the dealer, you have to be on a waiting list. and you have to buy and you have to wait. So let's just say you did get on the waiting list from Ferrari and you're ordering the brand new 2027 Ferrari that's not on any showroom yet. No one has it yet. No one can get it yet. You have to order it and be on the waiting list. Now, you got to wait 2 years for this thing, let's just say. And this is how it actually works in real life. You wait 2 years. Well, some other billionaire comes along and knows that you're on the waiting list and says, I know you ordered that special Ferrari that's coming out, and I know it's going to be delivered to you in May. And I know it was $700,000. You ordered it for 700 grand. I will give you $1 million for it as soon as you get it. There are people that will overpay because they don't want to wait 2 years. They don't want to be on the waiting list. And that's why these things kept going up in value. They become more and more valuable because people don't want to wait. They're willing to pay. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but if you go into a Rolex showroom in a fancy mall, like here in Tampa, we got International Plaza. There's actual Rolex showrooms and dealerships. They do not have any watches for sale in there that are new. They might have some pre-owned ones, but they don't have any new ones. They have them on display, but they're not even real. There's no mechanics, no mechanicals inside of them. You can look at them, but you can't buy them. You have to order them. And so Rolex showrooms don't even sell anything. It's just to get you. It's basically all the aftermarket that's where everything's happening. It's kind of crazy, but they're a huge multi-billion-dollar company also with real estate, kind of like McDonald's. McDonald's is valuable because of all the real estate. Not necessarily the hamburgers they sell, but they own the best properties on the corners of the most busiest intersections on the streets in the most desired areas of each town and each city. And so it's kind of a strange what's happening, but with crypto, well, there's going to be a supply shock. It's going to be a supply and demand issue. Same with real estate, same with everything else. Whenever demand exceeds supply, prices shoot through the moon, just like silver, just like what happened with gold, all this kind of stuff that happens every once in a while. And then what do you see? You see people in line to buy silver at $5. Why weren't they in line when it was $40? No one's, because there's no demand, so there's no urgency. That's why you got to buy XRP now when there's hardly any demand, and you can still buy it at $2. Because once there is demand and once the price shoots to the moon, everybody's going to want it and no one's going to be able to buy it.
Now you just got to get fractions of it, like you got to do the Bitcoin.
Right. Right now, you want to buy Bitcoin, you got to have deep pockets if you want to buy whole Bitcoins. Otherwise, you're just buying Satoshis, you're buying little fractions of it. 0.0005 XRP will be available maybe, but yeah, so that's why the people that get really rich from this stuff, they bought it way early, way early on this time scale. But let's see, we are at 91.6 on Bitcoin right now. Let's just zoom in and look at some of the other charts. We'll see what's going on here in the short term. I got 10 minutes left for this call. I'm going to have to wrap it up at 1:30, but we have an onboarding at 2 o'clock for those of you who are new. But it's just not much happening right now. We are upward trending. This is that bear flag that I kind of drew, but it could just be that we are right on that line, which is possibly the case. It does look like it. It's too close to be under it. Let me just zoom out again. I think we're on it. So if we drop below this and we hold as resistance and start to drop back into the 80s and we get below this big drop right here, which happened back in November. This was at 80,500. We've been holding the line ever since, making higher lows, but not higher highs. So what do we have here is an apex. We have a ceiling, which is staying pretty flat. We had support. resistance, 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 upward trending floor, winding into an apex. To me, guys, this is actually bullish. Even though this may look like a bear flag, it's bullish because we're up against this support. And so we have a good opportunity to pop back up through this. And then the next support, or the next resistance level rather, would be right here at about 100K. And this is where we have major resistance and resistance, resistance, support, support, resistance, resistance, support, support, support. That would be the next level up. If we break through this, and we would have to get above that and hold and get up to the 108, break that and hold to get up to these are the different levels here. So the only other option is, guys, it's either this or this.
Nico, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Is there any update from Billy Womack that he's going to come back and do an update for us on the nodes?
He definitely is going to. I mean, I had him scheduled for Wednesday, but that was before his mother passed away unexpectedly this past week. So I'm not sure about that. That's one thing that, I mean, he was close to his mom, and that just happened this past week. I know that some people know about that, but I didn't really post that in the main chat. But so he's dealing with that right now, and he might have some things that he has to do, obviously. So with that being said, I'm waiting to hear. He's going to let me know. He said he'd let me know today, but I haven't heard from him yet today.
No problem.
And I don't really want to bother him with it,
No, I get it. I'm just in Mexico for the winter, so I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah, no, it's there was a lot of good news that he was telling me right before that happened, and that when we did schedule him to come back this Wednesday, there was a lot of exciting things that he thought everybody should know, and I wanted him to be the one to say it. But then that happened with his mom, and so that's a hard one. I can't even imagine that. My mother's 84 years old, so I dread that. My father died when I was 8 years old, so I don't have any feelings towards that anymore. But my mother, on the other hand, that would be a totally different story. So you guys might, but
Totally understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
And those nods are still available?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the nodes are still. Let me go over here and see what's going on. There was some people concerned about the rewards dropping, but I think that's also normal. But as far as the amount that they're dropping, that was one thing I was going to get him to answer as to why that happens. There might be someone on here that's already done the research and knows, but
I believe the nodes also went up in price. The news.
Yeah, the nodes went up in price.
But you can buy them on the website still.
Yeah, you can buy them. And I think that the buy one, get one free if you buy 10 or more is still working. I mean, he did tell me that he would push that for as long as he could from anybody who wanted to do that.
Nico, I did
still a good deal for 15K.
Say again, I'm sorry.
I ended up opening a case because I wasn't sure, why my node numbers had dropped. So I ended up going in a big old circle only to find out that Kivo, right? So their answer to me was that as of 2025, a governance proposal was voted on and approved the update how rewards were distributed. Then it says community rewards were always intended to be a first-year incentive only. At this proposal transition, those rewards into long-term staking rewards instead. The change went into effect on January 5th. As a result, community rewards are no longer active. If you have tokens long-term stake, you should now see rewards reflected there instead. The update did not impact what your node produces on a daily basis. The change simply reallocated the former community bonus into a utility-based staking reward model focused on long-term participation. That was their answer.
Well, we're still getting rewards every day.
Yeah. I just saw the number drop, by like 20%. Like, what the hell is going on? So that's
yeah. But but did that say that there were no longer rewards?
It's just said that they were simply reallocated.
Oh, the difference. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
right.
they're reallocated and yeah.
So the number of rewards you're getting is less because the difference that from what you were getting is reallocated. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that, but I mean, it seems like that's that
No, there would be no reason to stay to buy nodes if not for the rewards. So obviously
Right.
you're going to get rewards, but let me see if I can go and find what we're talking
Sounds
about.
like you may need to keep your coins also.
Yeah, I mean that's the questions I had for Billy because I don't quite understand how staking works or why you would want to do it, but it seems like something that you'd want to do.
Well, yeah, he's staking, but I haven't staked yet.
I just want to volunteer. I didn't buy any nodes. I didn't want to invest that much money. Instead, I just bought some coins and I put
That's
them in
good.
a Kyvo wallet and I staked them, and I've already gotten staking rewards.
Good, good. Yeah. And you don't have to get nodes, guys. In fact, even Billy would recommend that you do both if you can, because you could buy, first of all, it's going to take, if you have 20 nodes, if you bought 10 and got 10 free, it would take a year for you to accumulate about 800,000 tokens. You could buy 800,000 tokens right now for the same price as the nodes, right? So think about it. So if you could buy now, if the price does go up, you don't have to wait a whole year to accumulate that many tokens. So if you do both, obviously, you could fare better. You could fare just as good. Now, the difference is that if the price does go up, let's say it goes up to $1, let's say it goes up to 5 cents or whatever, and after a year it starts to go up, and let's just use $1 for round numbers. Let's say it gets up to $1. Let's say you bought 800,000 tokens right out of the gate, and the price went up to $1, and you sold. Okay, and you took your $800,000. Well, at the end of a year, I could do the same thing and take my $800,000. The difference is that I will still be minting, a few thousand tokens a day, every day at $1 after that. Whereas you without any nodes would not. So the goal, the purpose, and I think the benefit, obviously, of having the nodes is that if the price does appreciate to the higher numbers, then you're still minting at that higher number. So you could basically, that's like income, or, minting your own, that's like basically making your own money, minting your own money out of thin air at that point. But so there is a benefit to the nodes over and above just buying the tokens. But if you can do both, definitely do both. But I wouldn't, guys, first of all, I said this from the beginning. This is a riskier type of situation. There is a great amount of potential based on everything that's behind this. Hundreds of millions of dollars behind this, celebrities and big time investors. When I say celebrities, I don't mean actors. No one gives a shit about those kind of celebrities. I'm talking about like financial celebrities, people who know what they're, invest in big things that are expecting a big return because they know what they're doing. Like, Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank and some of these other people that are behind it. And the guy who created it, and the guy who's behind the actual Optio and the people behind Parler and the platform itself put hundreds of millions of dollars into all this infrastructure. They're not doing that to lose money. There is a big plan, and that could cause this to go up. Now, is it guaranteed? No, nothing is. But these are the risks we take with these kind of stuff. So do not risk more than you're willing to lose, and understand this. These things do take time. Opio price right now is kind of low in comparison. I mean, it did go up to 8. It went up to 0.008. Now it's back down to 0.002, but it was at 0.002 when we bought in down here, and then it went up. Then it went back down a little bit. So kind of going up and down. That's
what platform can you buy the Optio nodes? I mean, not nodes, but the
just the
Optio
token.
coins on? Just the token?
I think it's CoinStore and Mexi trading platform, which some of our members use. It could eventually be on Phemex, but right now it's not. But it is on Mexi. CoinStore. CoinStore is like a exchange where you can buy it. And by the way, that's what Billy was going to announce also, is that you will be able to buy it right on Kyvo soon. this will become an exchange that you can actually buy and sell on, not just store, not just hold.
That's excellent. That
Yeah,
circumvents the whole other process. Perfect.
correct.
Nico, didn't you say you had to run, boss?
Yeah, I got to go here at 1:30. But yeah, see, we dipped down. Obviously, we dipped down from 2,300 down to 1,755. The only reason why mine went up is because I bought more, but because honestly, guys, when I talk to Billy, when I have conversations with him, it's a little bit, there's a lot going on that, to be honest with you, he can't even really say publicly because he doesn't want to be quoted because he's getting some insider information from people. But the only reason I even bring it to our group is because of what I think that I think the potential is there. But that doesn't mean he's going to be right. It doesn't mean that everything's going to happen. But also, this is risk capital for me. So don't buy more than you can afford and to just lose because, just in total transparency, I bought two Element token nodes as well. An Element, and I've had those for 2 years, and Element is still hovering down here at these low prices. Hasn't done what we wanted it to do yet. He's still optimistic about Element. He says they're doing a lot of things behind the scenes. It just takes longer for them because of all the infrastructure behind it, what needs to actually happen for it to do the thing that needs to be done. And so with that being said, potential here though for Element is still hovering way down here at these low prices. And when Element started this back here, this is like last year, it started to go up like this. I was getting excited because if Element just would have went up to, 5, 6, 7, 8, not cents, but 0.007 cents up here, I would have 10x'd, my money. But it's just still down here, not doing much. So could that happen to Optio? Yeah, I guess it could. I mean, there's no guarantee, but at the same time, you're minting, and I'm minting these too. I have two Element nodes. They cost me $2,500 each back when they first launched, and now they're $6,000 each for Element nodes. So the price does go up for these things, and that's the same thing that's happening right now with Optio. The price went up to what, $1,500 or something like that per node?
Yeah, it's around 6,000 a node. That's a look.
It was 1,000. I think it went up to 1,500, something like that. But I'm excited about it. But at the same time, I put these things on the back burner. I don't even think about them while it's happening. Just go about my business, go about my day, and just hopefully one day we're just going to be like pleasantly surprised. But oops, sorry, showing you my calendar here. Which reminds me, I gotta go. Where's your stop loss now? BA asked. Let me go back. Hold on one second. What was I looking at? Sorry. What in the world? Where's my stop loss on what? On XRP? Don't have a stop loss at the moment. I had one, and I removed it on the last live call when I entered a conditional long here at $2.03, and it barely triggered it right here. My liquidation is down here at $1.91. I am going to put a stop loss on right now. I will put it under this level. I'm hoping we don't come back down, but we could, guys. We could easily come back down. And I was actually giving it room all the way down to $1.96. So I think for the time being, because this was a major resistance level back here that we broke above here and held as support before getting up to this level. I'm trying to hold above this level. I want it to hold above the $2.05 range, but it certainly is possible that we could come all the way back down inside of this channel. Just like we did back here when I was showing you that 1, 2, 3 pattern. I mean, we hit the bottom and we came out of it and we did wick down into the middle of it. So if we wick down to the middle of it, that's right where my liquidation is, right here. So I think it would be safer for me to put a stop loss right here at about $1.95, which I will do right now. Just trying to give myself a little room. That's still a big loss, but it's a little risky, guys. I told you that because there is no, I mean, technically we had a breakout. This is the breakout we did have from the downward trending resistance from the top all the way down. Not only did we break out this resistance, but we retested. It just has not climbed up after that yet. So that's what we're kind of waiting for. Bitcoin, real quick, let me go over that. Then I'm going to wrap it up. Bitcoin is doing some very similar looking stuff, but we did break out of a downward trend and we did pump up and we did kind of hit a previous resistance level here. And so right now, to me, it looks like we're just kind of winding into a wedge, which is an apex. And so we're waiting for a breakout here on Bitcoin as well. I am not in a Bitcoin long at the moment, but I have a feeling we will break out to the upside on Bitcoin and we will come up to these levels here. This would be the first one, as I mentioned a little while ago, at the 100K. And then after that, we would need to get above that. At about 110. And let me just go back over here real quick. Let's just look because the RSI it did come all the way back up to the top. Well, that's the daily. Let me go to the weekly. The RSI is trying to get back up above the floor here. It looks like it is turning upwards. Right here, you can see it is turning upwards right there. We needed to get above the floor. This floor, this red line, break above this yellow line, which is the moving average. And I'm expecting it to come up to this little area right here. Maybe it's going to be over here when it does finally, and hit this. That's going to be the price of Bitcoin getting up to. When that happens, that means we're going to break out of this 91, 92. We're going to come up to probably the, 100K zone. And if we get to the 100K zone on the price, we'll probably be right here on the RSI. And that's going to be the big determining factor. Because if we break above the 100K and get up to like even the 110, 112, 115, that means we're going above this. And if we make a new high here, then this whole bearish divergence will be over. And we could see that parabolic move to the upside in January that everybody thinks is possible, which would break the chain of the bull and bear market cycle, so to speak. See this right here? Look at this. On the weekly, the blue line is crossing over. The blue line is crossing over the dotted line, and the orange line is following. And as you can see, they're looking far apart. They're getting wider apart from each other, which is bullish. So if this happens and we get back up to the top of this, that means this will pop above this and possibly get up to that. Then that means the price could get above this 100K zone and somewhere up here and maybe the 105, 106 zone. Then we would be determining whether this is just going to be a big head and shoulders, and then break this upward trending support line and go into a bear market, or we're finally ready to break through. And so that's what I'm keeping an eye on. It does take time, guys. It's not something that's obviously happening overnight, but as you can see on the weekly, this is all positive. This is all bullish. It's happening. It's coming up. And so that's why I'm anticipating right now, going into this week, now that it's Monday, that we will see some pump to the upside here in the price. It's trying. It is still holding upward trending support, but it's going to wind into this little apex and it needs to break out. So I will keep an eye on that. I will let you know when I see that happen. I will probably enter a position. If I see a breakout above that, it needs to hold though. It can't just wick above like this. It needs to actually hold as support and start to climb. That would be a great long position to the next level. And on the contrary, if it breaks the downside and holds as resistance down here, that could be a great short as well. I'll keep you guys posted on that if I see anything. If you have any questions, just ask it in the chat. Get on the onboarding call. If you're new, coming up in 20 minutes with Bill. He put the links in the Zoom chat. He also put them in the Discord, in the main trading chat, and the announcements channel. He just put them in the chat. Thank you guys. Any other questions before I wrap it up?
No, thank you, Nico. Good call. Prayers to Billy and his family whenever he's ready to come back for that meeting.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to him today. I just don't want to be insensitive to the situation, obviously, but at the same time, he's definitely all about business, but at the same time, this is one of those things that life stops you in your tracks and has to deal with, I'm sure. I know it would be for me. So, but I'll keep you posted on that as well. I think it's all good though. It's all good what's going on with Optio. So I'm not telling you guys to buy it. Again, that is a risky endeavor. It's for those of you, and I've said this from the beginning, this is risk capital. This is just another potential opportunity. I don't hold my breath for these things. I just hope for the best. And but at the same time, we're only doing it with companies that have the capacity to bring something to the market substantial. And I've seen it happen multiple times with Billy. So that's the only reason why I'm even as far as I am with it. But hang in there, guys. I think we're due for something big to happen here. We got a couple more days before this Clarity Act. Hopefully that passes. If it doesn't, if there's some problem there, we could see some more delay, some more sideways action. But I think that's inevitable. I think it's going to pass. But we'll keep you posted, guys. All right. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the chat.